Hello and welcome back to the Education System Reboot channel. Today I just kind of want to talk about the idea of what multitasking is and how we might want to kind of work on eliminating that as something we do often. Obviously, I think in today's society, people who can quote multitask are seen as a blessing, but what I've learned or what I would want to reflect on is by definition, when you multitask, that means nothing you do is being done at 100%. And if we're being honest with ourselves, I think that there are times where we encourage students to multitask and yet we forget that, well, now they're not going to do anything at their best. And I think this particular video is very important given the timing of where we are with the COVID stuff. Now, in my neck of the woods in Oregon, we are still completely distance learning. And personally, now, let me preface, I feel like this needs to be prefaced before I go down this rabbit hole of this video, is for me personally, because of the strengths I have as a teacher and the philosophies I have and the outcomes that I would like in terms of focusing on habits more and focusing on the process over the product, I have personally found that distance learning has been the biggest blessing for my personal teaching. And so I understand that not all teachers would have this experience, okay? And I do understand very clearly that for many students, not having the social interactions and other areas or other outlets, getting back in school is important. I don't want to I don't want to take for granted that. But as I can see the writing on the wall and that we're going to try to get closer to a more hybrid model, I have concerns. And those concerns are rooted in this concept of, by definition, multitasking means you can't do anything at 100%. So basically, let's be honest. Yes, there was a learning curve when we went to distance learning for all teachers, and some teachers are doing it better than others. But as we go to a hybrid model, my concern is that teachers and students are going to be being pulled in so many different ways, from the bureaucracy of having to make sure that instead of, being able to focus on the teaching, we've got the teaching kids in the classroom and the kids at home, and we've got this, planning for different things, which means we aren't going to be able to quote, whether you want to call it lesson planning or not, probably not be able to devote 100% to it. There's the things of transitioning between classes. So I guess as teachers, we're going to have to be so concerned. Are we dotting our I's and crossing our T's? Am I cleaning before? Am I doing this? We're going to be spread thin. The inability to focus on the teaching, right? The quality of the instruction will be reduced because, again, we're going to be, by definition of this whole hybrid model, we're going to be multitasking the whole time. Now, again, maybe I will again say it, I'm being selfish because I don't want to give up, to a certain extent, the feeling that I'm teaching well. I don't know if you can relate, but I know that I am a person who values routines. And so being put into a circumstance where there is no possibility of routine and everything's that, I feel a sense of anxiety. There's no question. But I would also want to say that there might be something, if we're reflecting on this, that there might also just be some good value reflection in the idea that, are we truly doing what's best for kids by having this hybrid model? Again, I'm like I said, I think for now, this video is really going to end up just being kind of a, what do you call it? Why am I pausing? I can't think of the word. It is a rhetorical question. Yes, a rhetorical food for thought, just thinking more than having answers. I don't have the answers per se. It's just something are we reacting or are we reflecting? I hear it said all the time, we want to do what's best for kids. And for a long time, I thought, okay, yeah, that's fine. But at a certain point, that starts to become a bad answer, because are we in agreement on what's best for kids? I would almost argue that what's best for kids is for them to go through this sense of struggle, to learn how, that we have to push through the resistance, to learn how to take a little more ownership of their learning. Said a different way, that's kind of the blessings of online learning as far as I'm seeing. Okay. And again, this is my neck of the woods. Everybody else has different, experiences, but I'm seeing blessings from online learning. I'm seeing the fact that kids have to take ownership of their own learning. They have to become more industrious. They have to plan a little bit better. They have, like I said, they have to push through some resistance to grow. Maybe they're going to, I see it as this idea, I'm having to teach better because I'm having to teach bigger picture concepts so that when we do come back to normal school, kids, hopefully through my teaching, are going to have better habits. They're going to be hearing a better message about success principles, about resilience, about following through, about habit building, about organizational skills, about, one of the things I've been hitting a lot is the idea of, perseverance, the 100 rule. That's something I think I did make a video of, I believe. I've made so many, I'm kind of losing track. But the idea is, are they willing to do something 100 times, right? Grit, perseverance. The idea that it's not always going to be easy. Anyway, all of this is to say, I just kind of wonder if we're reacting versus reflecting as we move towards this hybrid model. Now, like I said, I'm not here to argue with anyone. I'm here to just present a point of view that, or maybe just said this way, has this been thought? Are we thinking about the long-term effects? Because the way I look at it is, I am worried that the hybrid model that we're going towards long-term is actually not going to be beneficial. And it goes back to because we are multitasking. By definition, we're multitasking. And I don't know any teacher that can be the most effective teacher when they're being pulled every which way all the time, right? Now, that's a natural byproduct of teaching to a certain extent, because just the nature of teaching, and I get it. But quality teaching creates routines and things that eliminate as much of that as possible. So if we as teachers are literally being put in a situation where by default it's just going to be not chaos, but it's just going to be pulled in every direction, I don't see how we're going to be, as teachers, going to be teaching as effectively. I also don't see how students are going to get the maximum benefit. Follow this train of thought. If the majority of students do not have great habits, organizational habits built in, and then we're throwing it into a system that really is not proven or tested, and teachers are being pulled every which way, which means the quality of instruction is probably not going to be as good. We're on time limits. It's less time interaction. All of those, to me, scream long-term problems, right? The short-term gain is kids are being socialized. They're, again, I get all this, but I'm struggling with this sense that, are we throwing the baby out with the bathwater? Are we reacting versus reflecting? When we say it's what's best for kids, can you back that up? Why is it best for kids? Okay. Now, psychologically, maybe, but I would argue that psychologically, we don't grow without resistance, right? The whole reason I ended up making this channel is because I had things in my life that were terrible, that sucked, that just made me have to face reality that I had a lot of growth to do, and I had to grow. And through that process of growing, I realized that, man, I've got a lot maybe to say, and maybe there's people that would want to hear some of this stuff. And I have clarity in the way I teach and in the approach and the systems I develop. And so all of this is to say, none of this, right? None of what I'm even attempting to do here on this would have happened without some resistance, without some challenge, without going through what we call growing pains. Anyway, this kind of melded into two different topics, but the idea is, I'm just coming back full circle. I just wonder if, in a rush to try to get kids back, we might not be seeing the bigger picture. That's it. But I think we could all acknowledge that whatever a hybrid model looks like, by default, by definition, it is going to be multitasking, and that means we cannot do things at 100%. The quality of instruction through hybrid learning is not going to be as good. I actually think the quality of instruction would be better served staying online, finding resources for some of those students that maybe can't access it, but using the idea that the majority of students are going to benefit more if teachers can focus on one aspect, which is online learning. Until we can truly get back to the normal school setting, it seems slightly logical that teachers would want to focus on one thing, right? Not multitasking. All right. Anyway, I again understand that this video might have been all over the board. So maybe just call this, for me, it was a therapy session. It was just getting some of the ideas out there. And if people watch and listen and get to the end, you know, maybe there's some other ideas. Maybe I'm in my little sphere. Maybe I don't really know as much as I thought. But again, this one, I'm welcome to having a discussion, to trying to understand deeper. Maybe having it explained to me, why is the hybrid model truly what's best for kids? And I should say the challenge would be, don't use an exception to negate the rule, right? Because I wonder, see, the hybrid model might benefit a few people that are absolutely struggling, but is it really benefiting the majority of students? My argument is no, because again, multitasking by definition means you can't do everything at 100%. All right, with that said, remember, as always, consistent effort over time equals success. Have a wonderful day, night, whatever, and we'll see you in the next video.